Look at mine.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Stratford Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Commission. First item on the agenda, approval of the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes? Are there any corrections, deletions, or additions?
No, I guess these two guys are here are the only two that look.
Could you hear me?
Because they weren't here. Or he wasn't here last month either. It has to be.
We have a motion to approve. Second. All in favor? All right. Old business, none. New business. IWA permit 2013-3. Construction of 11. Pardon me?
Here's your agenda.
Oh. Wait a minute. That's what I had. New business.
Yeah.
Yeah. IWA permit 2018-2. Where the hell did that come from, 2018? Construction of a 7-unit complex and associated infrastructure within the upland review area of the wetlands. Site address 170 Oronoke Lane. Assessors Revenue Maps 50.2, Block 3, Lots 8 and 9. Applicant Bluebird Prestige, Inc. Are Bluebird or other representatives present?
Yes, hi. Sorry about that. I'm attorney Stephen Bellis, and I represent Bluebird. And I have with me tonight Manny Silva. He's the engineer. And I guess I just wanted to hand out a letter from Michael Klein that I have. He's a soil scientist. If I can approach, I can give a copy. So we're here tonight, as you stated in your agenda, that there's an existing home, and we're proposing 6 new single-family homes on the property. And on the other side of the firehouse is a little stream with a drainage ditch. And this, as you say, is within 250 feet from that little stream and drainage ditch. So you would go across the fire department property, then comes our property. I have submitted the application, and I'd like to introduce Manny Silva, and he can explain to you a little bit. I think he has a drainage report too, right, Manny?
Yeah, they should have.
Everyone should. You should have that in your package. And he can go over a little bit with you now.
Good evening. My name is Manny Silva from Rostizo and Company. I am a licensed civil engineer in the state of Connecticut, and we are at 35 Brentwood Avenue in Fairfield, Connecticut. So as Attorney Bellis stated, the existing property has a single-family house here up front, and then the open watercourse is here. So basically, it's water that's collected from the golf course, under drains and things of that nature, maybe some overflows from some of their ponds, comes through a culvert and then comes out to an open channel and then it goes into another culvert here just near the fire station, and that culvert then conveys the water past Oronoke Lane, and then I believe to the south, and then it's an open channel from there on. It may get culverted somewhere else down the road, but that's quite a ways down. So the proposal is basically to have a house reconfigured here where the existing house is, with a garage and a single-family house next to it, some visitor spaces, and then 6 units back here, or 6 single-family houses with garages, and has a driveway that comes up along the property line, and has these driveways that come into each individual garage. As you can see here, the upland review area is right along here, and then the land outside the upland review area at this point is not, we are not proposing anything. So some of the things that we did to control drainage on this site is that right now the site is uncontrolled. So all the drainage comes from this high point here, and then sheet flows down towards Oronoke Lane or over towards the open channel or watercourse. So what we want to do is add some various catch basins along these driveways here, and then convey that down to a gallery system, which is 212 linear feet of 4x4 gallery with a swirl concentrator or downstream defender. Basically, that's a secondary treatment unit to separate floatables and grit from the stormwater before it goes into the gallery, so only clean water gets into the galleries, and we don't have an issue with maintenance or plugging up the galleries. We just have one point to actually clean out. We then have a control structure, which is a weir wall, a 3.5-foot weir wall with an just under 9-inch orifice at the bottom to let some water leak out of it, and that's to meter the flow to discharge basically some water off the site, much less than what's there today, discharging to Oronoke Lane. And the numbers for that are basically at the 5-year storm event. With this proposal, we will reduce the amount of runoff towards Oronoke Lane and the off-site open swale by 47%. At the 10 years, we're going to reduce it by 51%, and the 25-year storm will reduce the runoff coming off-site by 55%. And therefore, we're reducing the amount of runoff coming off-site, that peak flow, and we are also improving that water quality by establishing a treatment train of a secondary treatment implement, which is this downstream defender. We also have snouted catch basins in all the catch basins, so therefore floatables will get caught in the individual catch basins themselves. And then we have infiltration, so we'll try to actually infiltrate the water into the ground and back into the water table, and as it does so, it'll actually continue to filter through the soil and down to the water table, which is considered a primary treatment. During construction, we have a soil erosion control plan. Basically, what we have is silt sacks on all the new catch basins, and that's basically a piece of silt fence that has a rim to it. So during construction, if it should rain and water goes into these basins, any muck or dirt or fines get caught in that sack and not conveyed or into that catch basin itself, or conveyed down the stormwater system, so that once we do stabilize the site, meaning that everything's seeded and paved, we pull those sacks out and the stormwater system is as intended, new, clean, and there's no construction debris inside of it. Everything comes out with those sacks. We have a envelope of silt fence around the site so that any runoff during construction doesn't convey any siltation or any kind of debris towards off-site, towards the open watercourse, or towards Oronoke Lane, or even towards any adjacent properties. We have a construction entrance, which is basically a large riprap placed there to knock off any mud or any sediment that's stuck to the tires. I was trying to use a more expensive word, and it gets knocked off in this anti-tracking pad, so that when the trucks come out to Orinoco Lane, they don't track any mud or anything onto the pavement itself, and then wash that down into the town system. So that's basically there to prevent that. We have an ornamental landscaping plan, so we have some evergreens along this corner here, kind of to screen this new house here, which is the larger of them. And then we have some deciduous trees and some low-growing shrubs here in between the units. And then we have some red maples here in the back, kind of to complement the wooded area that's in that upper corner. Again, here's some details. This is the swell concentrator, which is a unit that will take out floating material in this ring out here, and then it slows down the water to a point where anything that's suspended in the water drops down to this cone down here below into the sump. And then on a regular maintenance schedule, someone will come in, vacuum out the floatables first, and then come down and take out all the sediment. And therefore, by doing this, all that material, those floatables, don't go into the gallery system. So we'll have water in the galleries that are free of floatables and free of sediments. Here's the detail of the silt sacks, as I described before. As water during construction comes into these, the sediments are captured in this sack itself, so that when you have the site stabilized, you remove it, and then there isn't any construction material or any mud or sediment inside the actual basins themselves. Here's the detail of the silt fence. And then I have kind of the map of the previous approval, which I guess, from what I understand, was extended last month. So basically, what the proposal is to put the units along this corridor here, which is what basically encompasses the upland review area of the property. As you can see, we're using a more narrow, we're using the similar road network, except to this point here, except then we branch off to two different driveways, and the units themselves are actually a little smaller than the ones we proposed previously. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Anything to add?
Are you aware of the major water problem on Orinoco Lane where North and South Trail meet? There was at one time over a foot of water in that area, and it has been addressed, but not temporarily. It's still being assessed by, I really don't have the info on who's doing it.
Yeah.
I believe the state and the Army Corps of Engineers.
Correct. I mean,
So this is going to be an added problem, possibly, after the original water problem in that area has been corrected, and now it could be doubling down. What do you say to that?
well, I respectfully disagree. So I understand that there is some water issues with the area, and they've been somewhat mitigated. So the proposal itself is to take so we analyze basically what the existing condition creates right now. So this right now is a somewhat, there's some wooded areas here, but it's a little open in this area. And with that water right now just is uncontrolled and runs off into the areas where they have issues, as you said. So our proposal actually will reduce the amount of water going downhill where the issues are by up to 50%. So the proposal as it stands will actually help that situation in the future as it's proposed.
Well, you really don't know that. If the ground is going to be disturbed, you don't know what's going to happen with water.
So What I do know is that the way that we are proposing to put in 512 linear feet of galleries, which will hold about 7,000 cubic feet of water. So 7,000 cubic feet of water that normally would just go down Orinoco Lane will now be held onto the site and will be infiltrated into the ground slowly and into the water table. Versus that 7,000 cubic feet of water is quite a bit amount of water. So that being conveyed down in the town stormwater system and then flooding people downstream, it's being held on this site. So we are actually, this proposal will mitigate those issues that you're speaking on.
Sorry, I think it's just important to note, though, yes, it will be holding the water, but that water will not be of the same quality as it was when it was coming off the site in its natural state. Because now you're going to be having the impervious surface structure of the roadway, the homes, so you're going to be picking up a lot of oils and, hydrocarbons from everything that's running off from the driveways and everything. So it is something you need to keep in mind.
Correct. So the quality that's coming off these surfaces is lesser than that of the existing. But once it gets collected into the system, like I said, we have a treatment train in place where we take away those oils and floatables out of the stream, out of the treatment or the train of the system where our proposed runoff is going to. We're going to take out those floatables, we're going to take out those particulates, and then we're putting it into the gallery system so that it can be further filtered, similar to like a septic system or to water filtration system, which is going to go through sand or water, gravel, and before it hits the water table, it'll actually be treated to a point that it is higher quality water. Granted, we believe that the treatment train in place that we have proposed will allow more water to actually get infiltrated into the groundwater system versus surface runoff, which then floods people down the way. So, if there's any further questions.
I have a couple questions, actually. Do you have a sequence of development that's been presented to in the application? For example, let me just go specifically in terms of, I assume you're going to grade this property completely, at the first shot. You're trying to carry 268 completely across from corner to corner. So it looks like you're trying to level the whole property, which is obviously not very level.
And I also noticed there's a retaining wall proposed, so that was actually one of my comments as well. If there's a retaining wall, there's going to have to be some sort of cut and fill taking place, and I didn't see any indication of what those cut and fill calculations would be.
Yeah, so the answer, I don't know who to answer first, but I'll answer Tina. There is going to be some filling on site, but not over the whole thing. So the grading actually ends here. So what we have to do is actually raise up the site slightly because it does drop off quite a bit. So that when the driveway goes in, it's not sloped to one side, but it's actually flat. And what we have is essentially a slight slope going up in this area here, and then we try to pick up this a little bit, but as you can see, there's units here, so that in between the units you can't have a lot of grade break. So we did have to do some grading there. And what we actually had to do, we had to cut this portion of the property here. We had to cut it down and then slightly fill it here. And because of the proximity of the driveway to the property line, we had to have some retaining walls there.
So your answer is you're going to grade the whole thing at once?
So we're going to actually, yes. I mean, you're going to have to rough grade it. So this is going to have to be cut down a little bit, and this is going to have to be raised here a little bit. And then once that happens, we can start working on stabilizing it.
And did you address with demolition of the existing house in the application?
In the application. So, no, we are going to replace the house. This is a new house here. So the
Looks like
demolition, we
170 is
obviously-
going to cease to exist, right?
Correct. We're going to file with the town for a demolition permit on the existing house, and then from there, we'd have to do a building permit.
Does it have an oil tank? Does it, what kind of, does it have a
that's-
septic system?
It definitely has, it has a septic system right now, yes. And that will be addressed with the demo permit when we go, we'll have to have the health department sign off on the abandonment of the,
Well,
the
those are kind of the things we like to
okay.
address in
So-
review of applications, as well as when we've had this kind of grading, all due respect to silt sacks, I've dealt with silt sacks for several decades. And when they fail big time, to the point where you can't even pull them out of the catch basin.
Okay.
And if you have this kind of raw soil, and you're moving it around from a reasonable grade and trying to maintain a single grade, it would be nice to see a little more detail in how that's going to happen and how you're going to maintain it.
Okay, so I mean, you're looking for something like a sedimentation basin maybe, or something of that nature?
Well, those always work. I mean, the nice part about those is you walk away from them
Right.
when you're done. But that's a detail we like to look at and review.
Okay.
And
Very good.
unless I'm missing something, I didn't see it.
No, I mean, how I looked at it was the site disturbance was small enough that it didn't require a sedimentation basin, but if the commission would like to see one, I mean, we definitely can
I think,
include one.
in all due respect, again, I think there's a lot of things we would like to see in terms of a little bit more detail. I mean, even snow shelving, I mean, you're right on the border there, and you're looks like you're going to try to snow shelf right on all those catch basins.
I mean, the snow, obviously, we have
But you
enough
can't go the
property.
other way. You're going into the sidewalks and into the yard. And so it appears that you're going to try to send it to the east, but that would be my guess anyway.
No, I mean, I think this, with the proximity to the property line to the east, they would have to go to the west, obviously, and there's a good amount of room to the
Yeah.
west to bring the snow. So
Now, are these going to be individually owned properties?
Yeah. It'll be under some sort of homeowners association.
It's going to be an
yeah.
association, so there's...
But they may own the individual house, but there'll be a homeowners association.
So there's going to be some sort of contract in terms of maintenance costs and all the rest of it?
Collectively.
Again, I mean, we'd like to see that,
Well, I don't know
because
how I would
we're-
show that to you. I mean,
Well, I know.
can tell you that-
It doesn't have to be specific, but it can be conceptual, saying we're going to do this and the maintenance of all these catch basins and...
yeah, I can answer that it would be through a homeowners association.
Just a quick note, I mean, for the project description, project proposal, we asked, describe the proposed activity, its purpose and intended use, alterations and impacts to the wetlands, watercourse, and regulated setback areas on and off-site, explain mitigation efforts to offset impacts, best management practice, amount and type of material to be removed or deposited, structures and construction activities, scope of work, anticipated time to complete proposal, and then that's what we're asking for. And the response that I got on the application was there will be no impacts on the wetlands by activity in upland review area for construction of the houses and roadway. Roadway is similar to roadway previously not requiring wetlands approval. So, I mean, that two-sentence project narrative really doesn't give us what we need to formally review this application.
Well, the way I understood the application, I have no problem giving the commission whatever they want, don't get me wrong. But the only regulated area is a little channelized water course in the golf course that's been there for a very long time, and that's at the closest 140 feet from what we're proposing. And so when I said there was no adverse impact, that was from the letter that I passed around to you tonight.
Oh, no, I understand that part, but I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
we're asking for in the application, we're asking that you give us a project narrative that describes so much more than what we got in those 2 sentences. So we really need to have that parsed out. And like Bill said, there's no indication of what you're going to be doing to demo the existing house and what exists there. Is it a septic tank? Are there any underground structures that we need to be concerned about? And I mean, I have a couple other things as well.
Yeah.
Especially with the cut and fill calculations, I really like to see a cross-sectional plan. And in our regulations, that is one of the things we can ask for in an application. So I'd really like to see a cross-sectional
that.
plan of the site, both current and for the proposed state. And I noticed in your stormwater engineering report, you left out the 50-year storm event. That should also be included. I mean, it's nice for us to review, but it'll also be required when you get to the zoning level
Okay.
of
No-
the application.
No, for some reason I was under the impression that Stratford was still up to the 25, but I have, it's just clicking above.
I'd like
Yeah.
to see the 50.
Okay, yep. no
And
issue.
I'm almost positive it says that in our zoning regs. And the area in question is also an NDDB area under Connecticut Deep, so that stands for Natural Diversity Database. So you have to do an application through Deep to find out either what endangered species is on this area or what habitat is used by endangered species on this area, and they have to give you that report, and you'd have to submit it to us.
Yep, I know Mike has done some with some other applications across the street, so I'll have him provide that.
Okay. And along with the soil scientist report, I mean, to be official, they really should be signing the plan. There should be a delineation on the plan, and it should be signed by the soil scientist directly on the plan. There should be a delineation that's on the site plan and then signed off by the soil scientist.
Yeah, or the survey, yeah.
Or the survey, correct. Is there anything else I had? The sanitary sewer line that you're proposing, has anything been done as far as going to WPCA for approval of that?
Currently, no. It is just a small extension from here to here. And then it's basically a lateral connection from there. So at this point, we haven't gone to WPCA because we don't have this approval. So once we do that, we can address extending that sewer with the WPCA.
Okay, and as far as, the area where you're proposing to put the homes, is the entire area going to be clear cut? Are there going to be any trees that remain? I haven't been out to the site in a long time. I'm not sure what kind of stands of trees exist there in the first place.
So from what I recall, yeah. So right.
So, so we can assume a clear cut. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, just to kind of what I recall of the site, it's kind of very sparsely wooded in this area. So like there's like dotted trees here and there, and then this corner here is more dense.
One of the other things that you should state in the application is what the project alternatives are. It's just something that has to be included with every application, so it needs to be in there.
Okay.
I don't know what you want to do for that, but.
I mean, one is the one that's already the approval that's there already, right?
It's up to you. You have to present it. Include it with the application. Huh? Yes, correct. And so the maintenance of the concrete gallery system, is there a plan for that? Is there a description of it in the plans? I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, an SP2 here in the corner.
And so then that'll come under it'll be up to the association eventually to maintain.
Right, and then just so you know, something like this should have an O&M plan prior to building permit, approved by staff, and then we'll have that with the town and with the association, kind of as a check to make sure that things are done correctly. So,
I don't have any further questions. Anyone else?
Quick question. On map 1, you have a designation for an existing structure to be removed. Do you know what that structure is? Is it just
There's currently a single-family house here.
Okay.
So there's, in gray, there's house, it's 170 Oronoque Lane, it's a house.
Okay.
I'm really sorry, I didn't hear that question.
He wanted to know
No.
what the structure was.
That we were moving.
Yeah, I just want, and I guess there's a proposed house down below that's going to be raised?
So there's a house here. Hold on, I'll show you, it's probably more clear on the survey. So there's an existing house here. That's kind of like a ranch house that faces the road this way. And we're gonna remove that house, and then we're gonna put a house, a two-story house this way, kind of facing the new road instead of the Oronoque Lane. So we're just gonna we're gonna eliminate the house that's there and put a new one that's facing 90 degrees the other way.
So we can get you some more answers and come back and see you again next month.
I think that's what we're leading to.
All right, so, you have a motion, table?
Well, it's not a matter of tabling because it's not an application yet. We have to approve it as an application.
We can't approve it, it's not complete.
So what we're just doing is saying we're not going to approve this, for acceptance, which means they come back next month and we do that. But it's inappropriate for us to do it now.
Right.
I think that Oronoque Maintenance Department should be showing these plans, and also the head groundskeeper from the country club, just to get their input on this. I still have concerns about the water problem. In fact, maybe even a public hearing would be appropriate right now also.
It's kind of out of character for me, but I don't think
We can't have a public hearing on an application that's not been approved.
I don't.
Accepted.
Yeah, this information is public information, and I think, I don't know if anybody in Oronoque, it sounds like you have some contacts with Oronoque. I would strongly suggest that at least we could probably, through the administrator's office, send them a copy, because they're technically the adjacent property owner. And we get their input for the next meeting, because the next meeting is simply going to be accepting it as an application. All the discussion and any votes have to happen the month following that. There's nothing that's going to happen next month in terms of a vote of acceptance, which gives whoever is going to look at this 2 months, for all practical purposes, to review it. And hopefully, if they have a problem, contact us. So I'm not,
Well, they have to know about it, I think.
well,
That's-
that's what we need to do.
Give them all the paperwork and let them come back and give their input. That's all I said.
We can make good information, or good decisions on good information. That's why we try to get as much information as we possibly can to make an appropriate decision. I rest.
Okay, so, you'll be back next month?
Yes, I understand. Yes, we will be, sir.
All right,
Now, what do we have to do with this? We have to-
thank you.
Thank you.
Staff reports?
One sec, sorry. Get myself settled here. Did somebody make a motion to, I guess it's technically not accept the application as complete? Is that what?
Let's have a motion to continue this till next month.
I think we have to, I think,
Yeah, I
We
think
can't accept
technically-
it, we can't deny it, we gotta do
Well, it's not a
something.
matter of, I don't know how our bylaws or the regulations read in terms of, it's not an application.
but not accept.
It's not complete.
Not a complete application.
It's, yeah,
So we don't accept it as complete.
So we'll have to continue.
Right. I suppose, probably the appropriate thing right now would to have a motion to
Continue
continue to
next month. Or
acknowledge-
until it's,
to make an
how
acknowledgement
about a
that
motion
this
to
was an
continue
incomplete-
until it's submitted completely? Could be next month, could be next year.
Yeah.
Have a second? Second. All in favor? Stop. Staff reports.
Okay. Administrative permits, nothing was issued between April 18th and May 16th. Notices of violation, also nothing issued. Administrative permits, I just said that, nothing issued. I did, however, have, so for the Two Roads Brewery, where they're building their additional brew house, yeah, and so I unfortunately, I can't remember what the application number was, but we approved the building itself, and then we also said in the conditions of the approval that they had to mitigate approximately like 2,500 square feet of wetlands. So they've, yep, and they've given me the plans for the proposed wetland, and honestly, they've gone above and beyond. The plans are above and beyond anything that they had to do. So first I'll pass them around, and then I could kind of go through some of it with you. And then if you guys have any questions, I can have them at the meeting next month to answer any questions. It comes in that whole thing is one. Yep. Correct. They did a really nice job. They put in do you need one? Yeah. Yep, that's fine. So if you go to the site plan, yeah, they're putting in a really nice sized proposed pond. And so what's going to happen is, if you look at the top to the north by Metro North Railroad, there's a culvert that comes underneath the railroad that right now there's just a bunch of debris around it. It's disgusting. It can't even function in the appropriate way. So that water's going to be diverted over to the pond that they're putting in. So we'll have a really nice system of infiltration going towards the pond. And then the outlet of the pond leaves the west side of the site and goes back out towards the rest of Two Roads property towards the west, and then eventually out to Stratford Avenue. So they're actually restoring water flow on the site that, according to the town engineer, hasn't been there in probably decades now. So they're really doing a nice job of cleaning up the water course, essentially, and all the water quality is going to be impacted in a positive way because of what they're doing. And so then, in addition to the wetlands, they're doing a really nice job of putting in some different wetland plantings. I mean, you could read the details on what kind of shrubs and upland plants they're putting in. And then eventually, after they get the wetlands themselves worked out, they're going to be installing this boardwalk. Let me see if they put the specs on here. It's like an elevated boardwalk, so it comes on these like kind of raised frame platforms. So you put down the platform so it's not destroying any of the vegetation that you put in, and then you put the prefab decking panels right on top of it. So they kind of put it together piece by piece like a little puzzle. And one of the things they're hoping to do is actually hold tours out in the wetlands, so it'll be like an educational experience. They'll have interpretive signage. They're actually hoping to use some of the plants in their brewing process, which is pretty neat. I think they proposed some maybe blueberry plants somewhere, and they wanted to use that. So, I mean, it just looks really nice. And I know they worked very closely with the Audubon Society in putting the plant list together, so it'll be a nice pollinator habitat. It just really seems like a nice win, not only for Two Roads, but for the town and our wetlands in general. So if you want to take a closer look at all the plans, we can have a further discussion on it at next month's meeting. If you don't have any questions and you like it, I mean, I looked it over and it looks great to me, so.
I'm hoping, because this is an open area for the public, okay, I would assume they're gonna put up railings or something.
Yes, they actually, there's a, I don't know where it is in the plans, but they're gonna have like there's gonna be fencing, but it was like nice fencing. See if I can find it.
Yeah, they just can't keep it open like this.
No, it's
For
not.
safety reasons, they need,
I know they showed me. And even around the end wall for the culvert that goes under Metro North, they were putting up a certain type of, here it is. They call it, I don't even know what they call it, but
Take out like a 1-foot-6 fence
it's this fence on page D2.
fence around the boardwalk.
They have that fence around the boardwalk, but then they have this one that's going to go around the back of the property. It's basically like a bunch of sticks kind of put together, but it looks very natural, and it's going to be able to collect any trash that's coming in from that end wall, or the existing end wall of the culvert. So any trash and debris that's collected will be against that fence, and they're going to have somebody from their staff go out and maintain it, get rid of all the trash on a regular basis. Because unfortunately, we do get a lot of trash coming from that culvert from Metro North. So take a look at it, and then feel free to email me your questions ahead of time, or I'm more than happy to have a representative come in. They really did a nice job on this. Is that the fence? Chain link fence with like the cedar posts in front of it. So then they're gonna have like woody
Stacked.
debris behind it.
What you talked about, that stacked
Yep.
trees, so you can't see it. I think a site
Visit.
visit is in order.
I think so too.
Right in the upstairs.
Yeah, so please take a look at them. If there's anything pressing, any pressing questions you have on it, let me know. And under the terms of their permit, this is a condition of their permit that they do the restoration. I have to look back at it. I can't remember if we said I was going to issue them an administrative permit separately for this portion of the project, or it was just going to be combined into the existing permit. I can't remember what we had decided, so I have to look back at that.
Have you issued a permit at all? The permit was issued. Oh, it wasn't?
I'm sorry, the permit was issued, yep. Yeah, and they submitted the bond, they submitted everything that they needed to. The only thing
Okay.
that wasn't submitted was essentially
just the
this, the
review.
restoration portion. And we had said in the permit that they can submit the restoration plan at a later date for approval by, and I can't remember if it was from me
Okay.
or for the
That's what I was
commission in
getting at.
general.
If it's a
And
permit, it's in there. It's
unfortunately,
article
that's
different.
my fault. I should have looked it up before I came, but
would-
I didn't.
Just strongly suggest we do what it says.
Yes, so I'll look through it, and if it does say we need commission approval, then we could do it next month, or I don't know if you're comfortable doing it now, it's up to you.
I think, through you, Mr. Chairman, I think if you read it and find out how we're supposed to do it,
We'll do that.
if it's administrative, knock yourself out.
Let's see, hold on one second. Let me
If it
see
has
I
to
can
come back to
find-
us, we'll do it next meeting.
Let's see if I could find the minutes. This was 2016, yeah, no, it's after this. I want to say February 2017. April,
June, July, no?
can't remember. Gosh. Oh, here we go. Constrict brewing facilities. We accepted the application in January of 2017, February of 2017. Is complete. Plans for suggested first permit be issued with stipulation that the applicant come back with a restoration plan in place. This will be a two-stage permit. Mr. McCann made a motion to approve application as presented with the exclusion of a restoration permit. The motion was seconded by Mr. Waite. So I guess that means that we do have to then approve it.
It just says a two-stage permit, right?
Yes.
It doesn't,
I'm going to have to go back and look at the permit.
well, my point is, you can issue a permit just as much as we can.
Yeah, I could do it administratively, so I will take a look. I'll take a look. Okay.
But, well, we're going to discuss it, I guess, next meeting, just to maybe take a step back, right?
I think we should.
Yeah, we'll discuss it, then maybe just to make it really official, we'll just take a vote at that time, then.
What I'll do is
It'll get you off the administrative hook.
I'll put the, okay. I could draft, should I then draft an administrative permit and just have it ready to go?
That sounds good.
Question, because this is going to be open to the public, does this now come under Parks and Recreation Department, or is it, are they?
Well, no,
gonna-
it's open to the public that is there as a consumer.
It's open to their public.
It's not going to be like a Stratford
No
town hall.
minors, no
That was
dogs,
my
no...
No.
Okay.
It's still private property. We'd still be there as patrons.
Yeah, okay.
All set?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioners Forum?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administrator. Eversource?
Eversource.
You were
What
going
about
to look,
Eversource?
you were going to look in to see if they were walking on wetlands with the new transmission line? It appears, well, again, I don't think it's a big deal. Like I said, they're using pontoons on almost everything.
Man, I can't hear you.
What's that?
You gotta put it near your mouth. That's it. There you go.
I looking down from Putney Main Street, and it looks like they drove over that section a few times. Here again, I don't think it's going to be a really big deal, but it would be nice if they could kind of.
I think the problem is because technically covered. Wait, mine doesn't work. I believe they're technically covered under PURA, which means they don't technically need any sort of approval from us, though they should be following our regulations, and they should be giving us some indication of what they're doing.
Right. We've had the same situation with Tennessee Gas Line, and actually all the gas lines that have come through. They are under federal, what is it, the one, well, they're federally regulated, so they have a certain amount of impunity to local.
Mm-hmm.
But they are required to inform us. And it would be nice if maybe they did that.
Yeah,
I guess they're almost done, so it doesn't make really much difference, but
but still, you're right. I mean, it would have been nice to at least have that face-to-face
FERC,
with one
that's
of them.
what it is. Yeah, Federal Energy Regulation Commission, under FERC regulations, they have to inform us.
As far as I know, they didn't.
I went up to Parkway today. Turns out Mother Nature doesn't need any permits from anybody. Up in Wallingford, where a tornado went through,
It's frightening.
all these trees are just busted, 20 feet up. Gone.
One of the guys on my tree crew said a tree was literally 30 feet above his house flying.
I saw
Was it about?
there were like maybe 20-foot arborvitae fir trees or something. You could see them picked up and moved 30 feet.
Unreal.
Yeah. Okay, so anything else under Commissioners Forum? Motion to adjourn, second. All in favor? Thank you.